This kind of spicy fanfic was brought to you by KawaiiDeku on Archive of Our Own. Your eyes shot wide as the twirling bottle landed on you. Listener's turn! Mina cheered joyfully. A tiny yelp of objection echoed in your throat. Ow, not so tight! You griped as Mina tied your blindfold, thrusting the glass object into your hand. You spun the bottle on the floor, completely oblivious as to who it would land on. It must have come to a stop, since a few snickers, chuckles, and ahs tickled your eardrums. Shh! Mina hushed the group aggressively. Don't give anything away! You were startled as hands were slapped on your shoulders, hauling you to your feet. The violent escort shoved you into the closet. You wondered for a moment if the boy in question was also showing silent reluctance. The door slammed shut, but you knew you weren't alone. It wasn't until now that your nerves decided to surface. You waited for a moment, but the anonymous boy didn't make a move towards you. Maybe this is for the best, you thought. The odds that it would be the right guy are really low anyways. You heard his breathing a few feet away. But what if it is? Where are you? You asked, deciding to try and figure out who it was. You heard a soft tenor voice clear his throat to let you know his whereabouts. Your arms reached out into the darkness. Give me your hands, you humbly requested. His feet shifted and two sweaty palms slid their way into your hands. Despite losing your sight for the time being, it wasn't difficult to smell the tension hanging in the air. Based on the sweltering body heat radiating from him, you imagined the boy must have been at least as nervous as you, if not more so. You lifted your head and smiled gently to encourage him, deliberately stroking his hand with your fingertips in a soothing motion. Strategic thoughts flew across your mind like banners as you planned to discover him. I could casually touch his shoulders. That way I could estimate how tall he is and eliminate some options. Or maybe I could get a hold of his hair. That would be helpful too. But immediately, something else caught your attention. Wait, what's this? Your brows furrowed behind the bandana. Your thumb brushed across a rough-raised slice of skin. Your breath hitched when you realized there was only one boy with scars on his hands. Midoriya gulped, trying to swallow the knot in his throat. He'd never been this close to a girl before. So close. So good. He kept silent as the grave, fearing the slightest peep would reveal his identity to you, resulting in a scathing rejection. He couldn't take the tormenting heartbreak if that were to happen. Come closer, you whispered, reaching up for his shoulders. Midoriya stood on his tiptoes, just to be safe. He looked down at you as you spoke. You can kiss me if you like, you suggested. Izuku froze, a wave of adrenaline coursing through his veins. No way. This is a dream come true. He bit his tongue hard, the only way to hold back his delighted giggle. His hands tightened against yours, but you felt no other response. You shied away, cheeks burning with embarrassment. I mean, only if you want to, you muttered self-consciously, tucking your chin. A gentle hand caressed your face, lifting your chin up. You felt his hot breath, face inches away. It wasn't hard to sense his hesitation. It's okay, you cooed, returning the soft contact with a touch to his cheek. Your fingers grazed his hair, wanting a handful of his playful curls. Suddenly, you felt a hand grab your wrist to stop you. I can't touch your hair? You asked. Silence. I see. You smiled happily. All the guys in the class have distinct hairstyles. It would be a dead giveaway, right? Izuku returned your palm to his face, nodding to try and communicate with you. Okay, that's fair. You accepted. You felt his body relax, sighing in relief. You slowly weaved your hands around his shoulders, careful to not touch his hair. Midoriya blushed at the enticing embrace, intoxicated by the sweet scent of your perfume. You craned your neck, becoming impatient. A fluttering, jittery feeling swelled at your proximity. Somehow, he felt weightless, as if there were beating wings where his heart used to be. His eyelids drooped, sinking down to meet your lips. He began tenderly, still in disbelief that he had permission to do this. The clock was ticking, so you wasted no time. You yanked him into a tight embrace, dragging your tongue across his lower lip. He gasped in surprise, allowing entrance to his mouth. Oh God. His head was spinning. He felt your teeth graze his lip in a frisky nip, and your tongue was touching his. All the blood rushed to his face, and his knees gave way. He stumbled forward, taking you with him into the wall behind you. He wanted to apologize, but couldn't say anything. He winced, hoping he hadn't hurt your delicate body. You figured his anonymity must have given him a heightened bravery, for you felt him thrust you against the wall in what you assumed was an assertion of dominance. You smiled into the kiss, exhilarated by the thrill of it all. But shit! The time limit! You put a firm hand on his shoulder, pulling him out of the dizzying entanglement. I think our time is almost up. But you slid a tantalizing hand down his chest. He shuddered slightly, awaiting your words. I want to do more with you, you whispered breathlessly. Do you? He glided your fingertips back to his flaming cheeks, giving an eager nod. You smiled, reaching back to untie your bandana. He squeaked in panic, stopping you. Your arms fell to your sides. You still won't let me see you? You were confused. How could you continue these affairs together if you didn't know who he was? I mean, you knew, but you couldn't let him know that you knew. Abruptly, a delicious idea occurred to you. How about this then? You began, pulling him into a hug, nuzzling his neck. Come to my room tomorrow night when everyone is asleep. Knock 3 times, wait, and then knock 2 more times. That way I'll know it's you and put my blindfold on. Midoriya's heart leapt at the idea. How scandalous and taboo, sneaking into a girl's room in the middle of the night. Is that alright? You asked. He nodded again, his cheeks tight from a mischievous smile. Good. You breathed into his ear, placing a rousing kiss to his neck. Time's up! You heard Mina's distant voice. You pulled him into one more insanely fast, deep kiss and pushed him away as the doorknob turned. Okay, the boy comes out first. Izuku's feet shuffled out awkwardly. He walked into the light, heart still pounding in his ears. Aw, look at that face! Looks like somebody had fun, Mina teased. He shut his eyes tightly, terribly embarrassed, and went back to his seat in the circle. Okay, you can come out now, listener. You removed the bandana, squinting as your eyes adjusted to the brightness. You sat down and looked around the group of boys, as if you had no idea who had just rocked your world. You counted in your head as your eyes flickered over each of their faces, careful to not look at any of them for too long. A deep blush was plastered on Midoriya's cheeks. He had no way to hide it. You almost felt guilty for flustering the poor boy so badly. Almost. You gazed at the ground, fighting back a huge grin. So, whose turn is it next? You pretended to be oblivious at school the next day, occasionally throwing glances at Izuku, who averted your gaze like the plague. He was not naturally smooth at all, and you absolutely adored that about him. Darkness fell and you impatiently waited in your room for your lover's arrival. You desired to somehow let your feelings be known to him. When he comes over, I could say something like, I can't do this anymore. I have feelings for Deku. And then he'll be like, it was me all along, and then we'll live happily ever after. Perfect. Flawless plan. What could possibly go wrong? Midoriya fanned his face on the walk through the dorms. Damn it, why am I so hot? He wondered. He had changed into an old soft shirt and sweatpants, being thoughtful of what would be more comfortable for you to touch. He quietly crept down the hallway, quivering with anticipation. An abrupt suspicion gripped him. What if she tricked me into coming, so she could see who I really am? His eyes widened at the thought. No, listener wouldn't blindside me like that, he convinced himself. But since she doesn't know it's me she's tricking, she might totally open the door and see me. Despite his fear, he raised a hand to the door. You paused with bated breath. 1 second, you called. It took every ounce of self-control for Midoriya to not bolt down the hallway. The latch clicked open and his eyes fell upon you, adorned with a scarf wrapped around your eyes. He smiled, letting out a huff of relief. Is it you? You asked. You felt enthusiastic hands pull you into the room, intertwining your fingers. He must have kicked the door shut with his foot. You giggled merrily. I guess it is. Well, make yourself at home. Boldly, Izuku swept you off your feet into his arms. A surprised little yelp came out of you. He gently laid you down on your bed. The vibrations reverberated through the mattress as he clambered next to you. He wiggled a lot, his electric energy becoming contagious. Eager? You asked. He only blushed. Well, come here then, you ordered. He blissfully obeyed, pressing his lips to yours again. You kept him closely smashed against you as he hovered above, honestly just trying not to squish or suffocate you. He kept squirming every time you would pull his weight down upon yourself. Oh, for God's sake! Frustrated and desperate for closeness, you exchanged places, flipping him over onto his back. The force of your aggression surprised him. What surprised him even more was how much he liked it. He gasped into your ferocious kiss as you pinned his hands above his head, straddling his hips. He was much more vocal this time, letting audible sighs slide past his lips. Oh, how you wished you weren't in the dark. You desperately needed to see the sweet blushes you were causing him, the look of want in his eyes as you snuck your hand up under his shirt. At least you were going to get one thing you wanted. While his hands were pinned out of the way, you greedily grabbed a handful of his soft hair. He went to holler out but stopped, muffled by the deep kiss you pulled him into. His body tensed, but your affection melted the dread away. He passionately fought back against your grip on his wrist, wrapping his arms around you tightly. You went to press yourself forwards, needing to gasp for air but not realizing how close you were to the edge of the bed. Your hand slid out from beneath you. Ow! You screamed, feeling your arm slide harsh and fast against the sharp metal bed frame. He gingerly caught your arm. Is it bleeding? You asked, yanking off your blindfold to inspect the damage. You were met with the terrified eyes of Izuku. Whoops, don't look, he squealed, turning red and covering his face with his arms. Izuku? You smiled sweetly at him as he floundered out of your grip, backing up against the headboard. He started spouting gibberish until you placed a comforting hand on his. I'm sorry, it's okay, Izuku. I knew it was you the whole time, you confessed, hoping to calm him. What? He shrieked. Yeah, I knew from the scars on your hands. I wouldn't have just let any boy in the class kiss me. He stared ruefully down at his hands, ashamed of the unthinkable acts he had just committed. Why would you trick me like that? His piercing eyes bore into you, filled with hurt. You fell speechless. You couldn't have anticipated the betrayal he would feel from your deceit. You began, but he threw himself off the bed and out the door. Wait, come back, you called. But he was already around the corner. Midoriya got back to his dorm and curled himself up in a blanket. Little prickles of tears threatened the corners of his eyes. He felt ashamed and embarrassed, wishing he could have remained anonymous in his affections. I guess this was inevitable, he mumbled bitterly. It's true. It's not like this charade could have gone on forever. A realization struck him. But if she knew it was me all along... His stomach did a flip. That means... You knew there was no use, that Izuku wouldn't answer his door even if you went to see him. But you had to give it your best effort. You sprinted around the corner onto his floor when... Oh! You were taken to the ground, a heavy weight landing on top of you. Listener! Midoriya exclaimed. Are you okay? Izuku, I'm so sorry, you pleaded. I didn't mean to upset you. You probably feel really used right now, and you probably hate me, but I never meant to... His lips cut you off in a kiss. What? He tilted his head at you with a bright smile. Listener, I'm sorry I ran off before. He lifted himself off you, pulling you to your knees. I was just embarrassed. But I realized that if you already knew it was me, then you must feel the same way, right? You nodded, taking his hands. I just wanted to be close to you, but I didn't know how to tell you. Oh, I wanted you to know too, but I was afraid you'd be disappointed if you found out I was the one you got paired with. I was actually hoping it would be you, you admitted, standing up together. He scratched the back of his head bashfully. Really? Yeah, you sighed. So, it's still early. Do you, maybe wanna come back to my room? He looked up, eyes twinkling with excitement. Definitely. At least you were going to get one thing you wanted. Just kidding. Okay. I need a burp. Oh, am I allowed to read this? Am I gonna get canceled? Oh, buddy, hold up. A delicious idea. A delicious idea, honey. This idea got a flavor? Why am I so hot? Hell yeah, you are, boy! Izuku swept you off your feet into his arms. Oh, honey, okay. Oh, that's some good right there, yes. Oh my gosh, can I read this? I mean, it's not like too dirty, but like, it's kind of suggestive, and I'm not so sure anymore, but I love this one shot. Oh, okay, let's try that again. Whee! Climb on board, we'll go slow and high tempo, light and dark, hold me hard and mellow. We've seen the pain, seen the pleasure. Nobody but you, body but me, body but us, bodies together. I love to hold you close tonight and always. I love to wake up next to you. I love to hold you close tonight and always. I love to wake up next to you.